What's up? Welcome in to the latest episode of Pod Like a Champion, the blueandgold.com recruiting podcast. It's Thursday, June 3rd, 2021. I'm Patrick Engel, joined as always by our recruiting insider at blueandgold.com, Mike Singer. We're back after I had a little getaway in Vegas last week and right in time for all of the craziness of no more dead period, time for visits. Mike, it must be kind of nice and cathartic in a way to, cover recruiting and actually be able to ask these kids about visits and meeting coaches and going in the locker room and seeing all the facilities and all this fun stuff that they couldn't do for what it ended up being 15 months.
Yeah, it's certainly nice. I mean, there's certainly things about the pandemic that I hope stay, like crowded areas. I don't want that pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. That's fine. Shaking hands with people, with strangers, and I don't need to do that either. I don't even want to fist bump you. Just wave, But one thing I definitely wanted back was recruiting visits. It's back on. Notre Dame's already having recruits on campus. There's guys on campus we'll talk about here in a minute that are currently on there as we're recording this. It's back on. And if you're a college football fan and you follow a few recruits on Twitter or Instagram or whatever, you're seeing a ton of, photo jerseys of so-and-so recruit wearing a Florida Gators jersey or whatever it is. Like it's crazy out there right now. Visits are opened up. The NCAA, Patrick, pretty much went from this is a dead period. You can't do anything to, everything is completely back to normal. No, we talked about this. I was like, are there going to be restrictions on how many kids can visit at one time? Is it only 2 or 3 coaches can see a recruit at one time? Nope. Completely back to normal. So certainly interesting, but again, good for college football recruiting that visits are back open.
Yeah, nature is healing, right? And I think of this mass rush back to campus and just 0 to 100. You can't do anything to wide open. Like, you ever see those pictures or videos or whatever of like those subways in Tokyo or whatnot, where it's just like people cramming into these doors and all that? That's what I'm thinking of. Like, it's just all these kids flooding onto campuses just because this is a big part of their recruitment and they haven't been able to do it for well over a year. So yeah, that's my association. It's like, everybody trying to cram onto a subway train because now you finally have the chance to do it.
Yeah, I mean, the 2022 kids have had it tough, because the 2021 class, at least they were able to do things their sophomore year, in junior year prior to the pandemic. But these kids, I mean, some of these prospects we'll talk about, Patrick, I mean, their very first recruiting visits, their very first time meeting a college coach ever was this week. So, it is good for these 2022s that things are back to normal.
Yeah, I at one point, like you mentioned in 2021, I looked it up or found out, and I think it was, so yeah, they say 27 guys. I believe it was 9 had some kind of pre-pandemic unofficial visit or came for a game or met the staff or whatever. The crack staff can confirm that for me. I believe it was about a third.
Yeah, there was 6 commitments, I want to say, before the pandemic. Let's see if I can name this. This would be impressive. No crack staff. Justin Walters, Cain Barong, you got Buckner, Fisher, Rubio. So there's 5. There's definitely another one. Styles. I think Styles would be 6.
That's right.
So and then guys who would have seen the staff before the pandemic, Caleb Johnson. Oh, so there's 2 more. JoJo Johnson visited just fall of 2019. I can't think of the other one. Is there another one, crack staff, out there that visited campus for a recruiting visit before the shutdown? If there's 9, I just named 8.
Killing me, Smalls. Only the most disgust maybe the most discussed and anticipated decision of this class. His father has been a guest on this podcast. Top 100 offensive lineman.
Oh, Spindler, of course.
Yes, exactly.
When you
So
said that, I was thinking Joe Alt because he is the most recent one we've had on. But yeah, Spindler. Yep, good call.
And yeah, that's 9. I at one point I looked all this up and went back in the database of stories you'd written a couple of years ago. I wrote it in a story myself sometime this past winter. Yeah, the crack staff will have to go dig that up. Yeah, I think it was 9. Maybe it was 10. Did Pat Coogan get on campus
There you
before
go.
the shutdown?
Yep, he did.
Okay,
So there's
he
10.
did? Okay,
Yep.
so 10. And, oh, wait. No, Deion Colsey did, yeah?
Deion Colsey's 11. There you go.
Okay, wow.
Memories
My
not serving
memory
you
of
well.
my own story I wrote. Not doing great here, and yeah, that's one that the crack staff's going to have to spend a little time working to find. So, yeah, I believe it is 11. But anyway, yes, 2022 kids, all of their first times on campus, unless they went to a game as a freshman or something. Certainly, almost all their
or self-guided tour, but yes, for like
right.
a real recruiting visit. Yeah, this
exactly
is
like something that they can do. That's not just the same thing any old student could have done in the last 18 months.
Right.
Walk around campus.
Holden Stays did a camp when he was in like 8th grade. Tanona did a visit before. Let's see. I think that might be it of Notre Dame's current commits that I've actually done a Notre Dame recruiting visit during a non-dead period. And then there's some targets out there that have like Billy Schrauth, Joe Bronner, Carson Hinsman. But all right. I think we spent more time on this. November 2019. We talked about that time a lot. So, all right. I think that's enough about that stuff, though.
Yeah, let's go into who's actually been on campus so far, and these will be trivia answers you can impress your friends with years down the road when you ask, all right, who's the first visitor post-dead period or first official visitor? Why don't we actually touch on the 2 official visitors who've been in this week? They are not high school recruits, actually grad transfers. That would be Marshall offensive lineman Cain Madden, who is on campus as we record this on Thursday, and Tulsa grad transfer corner Akayleb Evans, who I believe is still on campus as well, if not just wrapping up that visit.
Yeah, so Cain Madden, transfer from Marshall, visited Florida State just earlier this week. What would that have been? Monday to Wednesday or so, or Tuesday and Wednesday. So, it was certainly interesting. I mean, Notre Dame had several offensive linemen leave the team. Well, how many offensive linemen transferred post the 2020 season? I mean, what, 3 or 4?
That would be
Gibbons,
Runhard. Recently, Dylan Gibbons. Those are the 2 I remember off the top of my head.
We did that transfer tracker video. I went through all these guys, but memories are just not serving me. But anyways, yeah, Cain Madden. I mean, it was the 2nd team All-American performer last season. These 2 grad transfers, Marshall and Tulsa, both what is that Conference USA? Not really conferences that would get Notre Dame fans excited, but the Irish faithful certainly would love to see both of these guys in the class. Madden, an interior player. Now, to me, this is just my opinion. Don't shoot the messenger. And I want to get your thoughts on this, Patrick. Is it a big need that Notre Dame needs Madden? Like, I don't think so. Like, maybe the staff is like looking at their scholarship offensive linemen and be like, man, we do need this kid. But for me, you've got Josh Lugg. You know what you have there. He's a darn good offensive lineman. Jarrett Patterson can probably play anywhere on the offensive line. Zeke Correll. Seems more and more likely that one of these true freshman offensive linemen will start. Tosh Baker. I mean, it's a pretty solid unit. It just, to me, Cain Madden seemed too good to not to go after, especially for a 1-year rental. What do you think, Patrick?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's a 2nd team AP All-American last year. No one had a higher run blocking grade for Pro Football Focus, or no guard, I should say, than Madden did in 2020. And I think that's meaningful when you're looking at a line that you're retooling that has to block for what might be Notre Dame's best backfield. And
Yeah.
of the two, I look at Madden perhaps being the one with a clearer path to start, for lack of a better term, just because I don't know that we really saw anyone separate from the pack at that right guard spot in spring practice. And although Rocco Spindler impressed, it's still a freshman who you're putting some pressure on, who you're expecting to get some ups and downs. Certainly seems capable of developing into a really good player. But for 2021 in particular, you're going to ride some weekly vacillations there as you would with any freshman. And of course, you're talking about maybe having two freshmen starting on the offensive line, not again exactly the thing that you would do if you're trying to find as much stability as possible for the 2021 line, even if them being good enough to do it is a really good sign for 2, 3, 4 years down the road. So yeah, I look at him as perhaps between him and Akayleb Evans, the one that has a clearer opportunity just looking at the roster right now to start. And although Evans, I mean, he's an experienced player at a position that's the youngest and least experienced on Notre Dame's roster. I don't know that they needed him as much as they did need Nick McLeod last year, where you had the same group of corners who were 1 year younger and didn't have a spring. Where now, at least, a lot of those guys still have 4 years of eligibility left, with the exception of Tariq Bracy. But yeah, you at least you had a spring to kind of see what you have at that corner spot. And from the sound of it, it sounds like Notre Dame's pretty happy with Cam Hart's progress, what Clarence Lewis has continued to do, and Tariq Bracy's ability to bounce back after he lost that job to Clarence Lewis last year.
Yeah, Cam Hart's definitely the key one there. If he is coming along and ready to start at the boundary spot, I don't know if you need a Akayleb Evans, who's at 6'2", 188 pounds. So yeah, that's the interesting one. When I agree with what you're saying, but for the clear path to start, that's got to be Evans, because you just bring him in and he's the boundary cornerback starter. I mean, that seems pretty likely. Whereas with Madden, yeah, he would still. I mean, they're probably pretty equal. Madden's going to start at a guard spot if he comes here. Evans would start at a corner spot. Like, that just kind of seems pretty likely. But let's dive a little bit more into Evans now, Patrick. We broke the news that he would be taking his official visit to Notre Dame Wednesday, June 2nd to the 4th. He was at Texas earlier this week. I would imagine he takes a visit to Missouri next. The former cornerbacks coach at Tulsa is now at Missouri, so that makes a ton of sense, and is kind of a natural move for him if he wants to, play for someone that he's familiar with. So we kind of touched on that fit, but in terms of where Notre Dame's at with both of these guys, again, I think that Madden is going to take another visit after Notre Dame, unless Notre Dame absolutely wows them. And then with Evans, I would assume that he'll give Missouri a shot. Texas Tech is also in his top 5, and then Jackson State with Deion Sanders in there as well. Madden's from Ohio, so there's a North or Midwest tie with Notre Dame. But with Evans, he's from Texas, so the Texas Longhorns make sense. Texas Tech, and then again that connection with Missouri. But both of these guys given a good look at Notre Dame as well. And then the last thing to note is summer school starts pretty soon. What is that, June 13th or so? That weekend of June 11th is when the guys are moving back in. So, these guys would need to make their decisions before then.
Yeah, if I can, I guess, add one more thing. If Notre Dame lands either of them, it'd be the first grad transfer from a group of 5 school that Notre Dame would have taken in the Kelly era, I believe. If whoever commits first, if Notre Dame lands either one of them, would be the 10th grad transfer of the Kelly era, I believe. All of them since 2014, all from Power 5 schools. And up transfers are kind of you never quite know how it's going to translate from, in Tulsa's case, the AAC, playing on a really good defense, or in Marshall's case, of course, conference, USA. And I don't think either is a lock to start in that sense, where Evans, like, you have to fend off one of the spring's better risers in Cam Hart. Uh, in Madden, of course, you have more guys to compete with per se at those guard spots, but
Yeah.
it's a freshman and a bunch of guys who haven't played meaningful, high leverage, non garbage time snaps. So even if you can pencil it in there, I don't think it's as clear a projection as Ben Skoranek was as, all right, he's going to start, or Nick McLeod was as he's going to start. But I can understand why they're exploring both these options.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. That makes sense. Yeah. It comes down to where's Cam Hart at, and the coaches definitely had really good things to say about him. We look good in the clip sense of the media, but I mean, what's the staff gonna say? He stinks. So I guess we'll just have to see.
Right, and of course that could be how they feel about him coming off of spring. It could change drastically 2 weeks in August if he comes out, completely on some other level than he was at this spring. But, all right, let's move on to the high school visitors here. So yes, save it as trivia questions. The first official visitors of the post-deb period for Notre Dame: Akayleb Evans, Cain Madden. Technically, I guess Evans got there first, but the other part of that, first unofficial visitors, high school recruits to come on campus and visitors of any kind post-deb period, were a pair of 2023 players who popped in on the first day you could, June 1st. That would be linebacker Drake Bowen, an early top 20 recruit in the 2023 class out of Merrillville, Indiana, Northwest Indiana, about halfway between South Bend and Chicago, and Shandavian Bradley, a defensive end. So, Mike, I know you've caught up with both. What do you sense as far as how the visits went? I know there's only one answer to that question, and kind of where Notre Dame's at coming off those visits.
Yeah, definitely. So this was Drake Bowen's and Shandavian Bradley's first recruiting visits that they've been able to take before. So that's neat. Like Drake Bowen has been in contact with Marcus Freeman and Brian Polian and that staff for several months now. So for them to finally be able to meet, get some pictures together, and do all that good stuff, tour the Goog instead of just standing outside of it and looking at it. It's all neat stuff. But I put in a FutureCast pick for Notre Dame to land Bowen. When would that have been? May 7th, so not too long ago. Just feel like Notre Dame's not going to let this kid leave, the state of Indiana, their backyard. His visit went well by all indications. You can see this story on blueandgold.com, a little Q&A that I had with him. So yeah, all in all, went really well. I like to ask these kids, like, what was it like, actually being there face to face? Like, how different is it from the Zoom stuff? And let's see what my, Bowen's answer was. I really like all the coaches. It was cool to put a face in the name. Got to see the coaches burst, talk to Freeman and Kelly, and it was all really cool. So biggest takeaway for Bowen's visit was internships and studying abroad. Like, if that doesn't sound like a Notre Dame kid to me, then I don't know what is. But yeah, so all in all, Drake Bowen, 6'2", 215-pound, 4-star linebacker in the 23 cycle. His visit went well. And then Shandavian Bradley, another 4-star player. He is from Platte City, Missouri. Have you ever been there, Patrick?
Can't say I have.
Yeah, no, me neither.
I've been to North Platte, Nebraska. It's on the same river, I think, or I assume, because it's the same name. But
were you covering some college basketball?
I
no,
drove
pleasure
through there on the way to Color. It's a pit stop on the way to Steamboat, Colorado from Chicago. When you drive there in the summers.
Gotcha. All right. So yeah, Shandavian Bradley, his visit went very well. Hanging out with Mike Elston most of the time. Both of these guys sat down with Brian Kelly. Also had a story on Bradley, and for YouTube folk, you can see him there. And his visit went really well by all indications. Of course, guys, like Patrick said, I mean, what are these kids going to say? The visit stunk? Like, yeah, these visits typically, go pretty well. And there was actually a couple players at Notre Dame as well still. Jordan Botelho, which kind of makes sense that he wouldn't go home for a few weeks because it's Hawaii. I don't know. Maybe he just wasn't able to go home. And then the Adamalola brothers, they were also hanging out with Bradley. So Bradley was able to hang out with some defensive linemen. What I wanted to mention real quick is the difference between official and unofficial visits. Like, we just kind of say that, and I want to make sure that people actually understand that there is a difference. So I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. An official visit you can only take during the spring of your junior season or fall and then into winter of senior year. So it's like April to June and then September to let's just say January. There's some random dead periods in there where you can't take visits, but the official visit is capped at 48 hours and it is paid for by the college. An unofficial visit, you can spend 6 weeks, at a school or something. Like, there's no time limit, but it is on your dime. You have to pay for the travel and the hotel and all that, whereas the official visit is paid for by the school. You only get 5 official visits, and then the unofficials, you can take as many as you want. Is there anything I'm missing there? That's pretty much the gist there, right, Patrick?
That's it.
All right. Well, I just wanted to make sure people know what the difference is, because I think sometimes we just kind of assume, like I say all these big recruiting terms, I just assume people know what I'm talking about. So that's that.
So we've got a second crop of visitors coming in here for June 4th. That's a Friday, and one day after we're recording this. And that would be another group of 2023 guys, tight end Jackson Howard, linebacker Josiah Trotter, linebacker Jaden Osbury, all of them very highly ranked in the early 2023 rankings.
So we're going to touch on those guys in just a second, but a word from our friends at Manscaped. I know this is Patrick's favorite part about Pod Like a Champion. Father's Day is coming and the weather is catching heat. Whether you have a dad bod like me, even though I'm not a dad, still got one though, or rocking a 6-pack like Patrick Engel, make sure you and your dad are smelling nice and shaved where it matters most. Make your dad proud this year and get him and yourself the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0 and Refined Cologne by Manscaped, the brand new Lawnmower 4.0. So people on YouTube, you see the lawnmower there in the middle of that, I can't think of any other word except for package. So just have to say it's in the middle of the package there. It actually is a package. That's the Lawnmower 3.0. Manscaped is actually going to be sending me some more products to try out, so I should be getting the Lawnmower 4.0 here soon. So the brand new Lawnmower 4.0 Refined Cologne is it's perfect for you and the dad in your life to complete your grooming game. You can get 20% off and free shipping with the code 20BlueGold, and that's at manscaped.com. I'm actually wearing my Manscaped shirt right now. And what's funny, we've been reading these Manscaped ads for, I don't know, month and a half or so. And a recruit that Notre Dame is after, I'm not going to say his name. I heard that he bought his own Manscaped shirt with our promo code. I found that hysterical and amazing at the same time. So get on this Manscaped train. And maybe that's not the best term, but 20% off free shipping at manscaped.com. Using that promo code 20BlueGold. Don't forget that you came from your dad's balls. So this year, show your original home some love with Manscaped. If that's not the best ad read ever, then I don't know what is, Patrick. But yes, let's move on to talk about some of these other recruits.
So yes, 3 highly regarded or highly ranked. I believe they're all top 100 in the first edition of the 23 rankings.
Mm-hmm.
Players coming on to Notre Dame's campus here. Tell the people about them and again, kind of where you think they're at right now and what Notre Dame can do as far as making moves on these visits.
Yeah, Jackson Howard from Minnesota listed with 51 offers by rivals, and he's been right around 50. He's probably closer to 60 at this point. His Twitter got suspended. I guess if you tweet out videos, there's like with music, copyright is now a big issue on Twitter with that. So Twitter will suspend your account. It's crazy. So he probably has more offers that have gone unreported because of his lack of social media here recently. But regardless, I mean, he's been well over 40 offers for several months. I mean, when he was like a freshman, he had like 20 or 30 offers. So Notre Dame dished out a scholarship to him earlier this year. Staff's doing a really nice job with him, and Howard's got like 20, 25 visits this month alone. I mean, I think he's hitting 2 schools just on June 4th when he's at Notre Dame. I think he might be seeing a Northwestern or something like that. So Jackson Howard, 6'4", 235 pounds, ranked as the number 64 overall player in the country. Got to think that Notre Dame has as good a shot of anybody right now. He's visiting like 20, 25 schools this month. You know, clearly it's very early in the process, and Notre Dame can wow him. Howard's actually a very good basketball player as well, and his father, Willie Howard, I believe, played at Stanford and then in the NFL for a while. Speaking of a dad who played in the NFL for a while, do you know the name Jeremiah Trotter, Patrick?
Of course, former Eagles linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, during that I believe it was Donovan McNabb era, he was just like
Yeah, they were contemporaries
of that defense. So his son, if this makes you feel old, that's not my fault. His son's Josiah Trotter, 6'2", 225-pound, 4-star linebacker, number 80 overall player in the country. Notre Dame offered him just a few weeks ago. He's going to be making his way to South Bend. Some of his other offers, Miami, Oregon, Penn State, I know has done a good job with him early on. So, yeah, we'll have to see. Should be catching up with all of these guys after their visits, but I know that Notre Dame has done a nice job since offering Trotter and making him feel loved up. And then the last notable recruit, so this trio we're talking about here is prospects who will be arriving on campus June 4th. There's other guys who are visiting this weekend. We'll touch on a few here in a minute, but this is just for June 4th. Now, Jaden Osbury, this one is fascinating to me, Patrick. 6'2", 202-pound athlete. He's listed as an athlete. I think he's an inside or outside linebacker. Number 24 player overall in the country, right? From Baton Rouge. Has got an offer from LSU. He's also got, let's take a look, Florida, Auburn, Tennessee, Texas, A&M, USC, some of these schools. He doesn't have an offer from Notre Dame yet, but he is still, as the number 24 player in the country, borderline 5-star guy, is going to be making his way up to South Bend, and he's going to be camping at Notre Dame on Saturday as well. So not only does he clearly have high interest in Notre Dame before he even has an offer, he's going to go out and prove himself. Now, why is that so crazy? And that's because typically these high-profile kids are like, do you know who I am? I don't need to camp here. And that's not like a cocky thing or being arrogant. Like, it's just the facts, it's just what it is. I'm not going to have Patrick go cover some middle school soccer game because Patrick's our Notre Dame beat writer. We don't send a Notre Dame beat guy to go cover middle school soccer. It's not a great comparison, but that kind of makes sense. Like, typically these high profile kids, they just don't need to go to a camp to prove their offer. But hey, Jaden Osbury, he's going to go do that, and I would be surprised if he leaves South Bend this weekend without a scholarship offer.
It just seems like the kind of player and situation that wouldn't happen and wouldn't come to campus without an offer pre-Marcus Freeman, just because of how he's able to connect with guys or just his reputation. I know Freeman can't contact
Patrick. I got a phone call. I got a phone call coming in. It's my boss. You want Patrick to go cover middle school soccer? Hey, Patrick, boss just called, man. We gotta end this right now. You gotta go cover some soccer. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, let's go. LaPorte, Indiana. I heard they have a big 8th grade championship going on over there.
It's 6th grade, so sorry, but yeah. Anyways, so that's a few kids. I mean, if you're a recruiting nut and you want to know all of the guys coming in, blueandgold.com, subscribe to the site, go on the loose emoji board, and details about all these guys visiting. I mean, as soon as I get off of doing this podcast and video here, I'll be reporting about 6 more guys coming in June. It's just crazy time. It's probably a good time to transition and talk about Irish Invasion on Sunday. I'm told, Patrick, that there's going to be close to 80 kids there. And that's the kind of the one that is more of the premier kids. So I mean, these are 80 guys who they feel are like dudes and are Division 1 caliber, and guys they want to see in person to decide on if they want to offer. Whereas like there's a camp today that wrapped up around 3 p.m. that maybe had a few D1 kids, but this one on Sunday is going to be loaded.
Yeah, with no more dead period means camps, right? And yeah, this is Sunday's one at least. Again, like you don't think of top 25 recruits like Osbury needing to go to it, but a good chance for a lot of say freshmen, sophomores who have that making of Division 1 players or high Division 1 players, but whose recruitment might not be in as advanced a stage as Osbury, or just might not be enough of a name yet. I mean, yeah, these are where you see offers start to go out and word get around, and where kids' stocks really start to go up. I mean, we know Notre Dame offered Tyler Buckner after it, wanted him to come camp at Irish Invasion. Yep. So yeah, I mean, you never know what kind of big targets emerge from this camp or in this 2023 class that Notre Dame first really saw and really liked and offered that come from this.
Yeah, especially at the quarterback position. There's going to be several quarterbacks who will come in, and then a few others who, I've been in communication with to see if they will come in, but they would like to, but just haven't said. There's a young man, Eli Holstein, from Louisiana, Zachary, I want to say it is, and he just camped at Ohio State and picked up an offer from the Buckeyes. I know that he's looking at visiting Notre Dame at some point to camp as well. June 8th and 9th, there's quarterback Braden Dorman coming in from Colorado. Like Mac Howard is another. I think he's a 4-star player. He's visiting June 17th to camp. Chase Spellman, June 22nd for a camp. Where's Chase Spellman from Wisconsin? So several again quarterbacks. It'll be interesting to see other guys that we confirm, but. Wanted to talk about 3 players in particular for Irish Invasion on Sunday that I feel like, and this is of a group that we know this is the 3 that I know and have confirmed that are coming in Sunday that already hold scholarship offers from the Irish. How about Brennan Vernon, Patrick? So we just talked about Osbury and how he is coming up to camp to prove his offer, and he's the number 24 player in the country. Vernon is the number 9 player per Rivals in the 23 class, was Notre Dame's first offer in this cycle, and he's going to camp at Notre Dame on Saturday. That's impressive. From what I'm told about this kid, and been able to meet him in person at the Columbus Under Armour camp. What would that been in April? I mean, he's just a competitor. He was working on his visit schedule, and June 6th worked out, and that just happened to be the day of Irish Invasion, and Brennan was like, that sounds fun, pretty much. Like, let's go do it. I want to go compete. So you love that about him. 16 offers, probably a little bit more. It might be a few that are not on his Rivals page because this is an elite prospect, big-time player. Think Notre Dame and Ohio State. People have been saying with this recruitment it's going to be those 2 schools, but Ohio State's out in front. I do think it's going to be a Buckeye and Irish battle for Brennan Vernon. And, you already see the FutureCast picks in on his Rivals page. So some folks already think that he's going to end up at Ohio State. I don't know. I'm liking Notre Dame. I'm not going to say Notre Dame's going to land on, or I'm not putting in a pick or anytime soon, but watch out for Notre Dame in this recruitment. I know Marcus Freeman and his conversations with Brendan Vernon have already gone really well. Mike Elston's done a nice job. So Brendan Vernon, keep an eye on him. The next guy we'll want to talk about, Jack Luttrell. I do have a Rivals FutureCast pick in for him to land at Notre Dame. Put that in the day after I saw him in person down here in Atlanta. If his camp, he's going to camp for Irish Invasion. If that goes well, I could see Notre Dame being like, all right, we want you now. We don't need to see any junior tape. Let's go get you. Let's get you in this class. And I think Luttrell might be open to that. So he is a 6'1", 185-pounder, offers from Arkansas, Georgia State, Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, and Tennessee. Now his recruitment's just kind of picking up. I mean, I believe his first offer was Arkansas at the end of March, and then Notre Dame offered the next week. So things are just picking up. Like if you're a Notre Dame recruiting nut and you're following the 2020 class closely, you'll know the name Jake Pope from Buford, another Atlanta safety. Luttrell, and I've seen both of them in person. Luttrell is like Jake Pope 2.0. I've told Luttrell that, and he loves the comparison because he watches a ton of Jake Pope, and I believe they've been able to work out with each other as well. So Jack Luttrell definitely a name to watch. And then Ryan Wingo, St. Louis University High School in the 2024 class. So he is a freshman going into his sophomore season. Believe Tommy Reese offered him personally. So 6 foot, 175-pound receiver offers from several schools already: Arkansas, Florida, Iowa State, Ole Miss, Missouri, Notre Dame, and UCF. So that's Ryan Wingo. So that's just 3 guys who have already received offers from Notre Dame that will be at Irish Invasion. Again, this camp at Notre Dame on Sunday. I know there's a big group from Las Vegas, Bishop Gorman, that's coming in. Nico Fertitta, former Notre Dame player, a special teamer, and a safety. I believe it was, 2014 to 17, I want to say, Nico played. So he's going to be on campus with those guys. So that will certainly be interesting to see if any of those 23 players from Gorman get an offer from Notre Dame from Irish Invasion. So that's kind of the quick preview rundown. Exciting time. So much good stuff going on at blueandgold.com as well. Just loads of recruiting coverage. And it's going to be a lot of fun this June.
Yeah, no high school official visitors coming in this weekend. That's
Right.
going to be something you see more of on that June 11 to 13 weekend. That's when players are coming back right before summer school starts. We will talk to you guys again next week, probably with a more, in-depth preview, breakdown, whatnot, of what to expect and who's coming in on that weekend. So don't miss out on that. I will plan to cover that on our next episode next week. We will talk to you again soon. Until then, take care.